From gunfights on the streets to violent gangs taking over apartment buildings and charging rent to tenants, Aurora, Colorado is in trouble. Today on Across the Globe, we're going to be looking at how Venezuelan migrants broke a city. There's much more than meets the eye, and the problem stems from a larger issue involving other states and other U.S. cities, so let's get into it. Overall context of the migrant crisis in the United States. Before we get into the details of the Aurora migrant situation, let's take a brief look at this crisis as a whole. The United States has grappled with a migrant crisis for many years, marked by the influx of individuals and families fleeing violence, persecution, and economic turmoil in their home countries. While many people tend to associate this crisis primarily with migrants crossing from Mexico, the landscape of migration has become increasingly diverse, particularly with a significant surge in Venezuelan migrants seeking refuge. These individuals are escaping a devastating combination of political repression, economic collapse, and humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. As they journey toward the United States, often traversing multiple countries to reach their destination, these Venezuelan migrants challenge the prevailing narrative of border crossings limited to those from Mexico and Central America, highlighting the complex, multifaceted nature of migration in today's world. Factors behind the influx of Venezuelan migrants in the United States. Several key factors have propelled the Venezuelan migrant crisis over the past decade. Economic collapse, which many believe is aggravated by government mismanagement and corruption, has led to hyperinflation and scarcity of basic necessities such as food and medicine. Additionally, violence is rampant in the country, leaving many Venezuelans scared for their safety. According to UNHCR, nearly 8 million Venezuelans are displaced globally. Political repression has also intensified in Venezuela, with the government cracking down on dissent and opposition, leading to human rights violations. As a result, many Venezuelans see migration as their only option for survival. In August 2024, Amnesty International reported on the severity of the ongoing crackdown on dissent in the country. They stated that, according to human rights groups, thousands of people have since been arrested and over a dozen killed in post-election crackdown against the opposition. They also noted that Venezuela is currently facing an investigation by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity, including persecution, and the UN fact-finding mission on Venezuela has reported the policy of repression implemented by the authorities. The numbers explained. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, 2023 saw 262,633 Venezuelans crossing the U.S. border, up from 189,520 in 2022. In September 2023, approximately 50,000 migrants from crisis-stricken Venezuela crossed the U.S.-Mexico border unlawfully, a record number that CBS referred to as once unthinkable. They also noted that on some days, as many as 3,000 migrants from Venezuela were arriving at the border. They stated that this unprecedented influx of Venezuelan migrants further complicated the Biden administration's migration strategy, both operationally and politically. In the United States, Venezuelan migrants have increasingly settled in regions where they believe they can seek refuge and support. Data shows that the Venezuelan population in the U.S. has surged dramatically. According to migration policy, the number of Venezuelan immigrants in the United States has nearly tripled since 2010, coinciding with a period of severe economic and political crisis that has resulted in the largest prolonged displacement event in the Americas. The impact on Colorado. Colorado's relationship with immigration is marked by a complete interplay of policy, perception, and reality. In 2023, the governor's office made headlines by rejecting the characterization of Colorado as a sanctuary state, asserting that Colorado is not and has never been a sanctuary state. However, this stance seems contradictory in light of certain state laws that align with the principles typically associated with sanctuary jurisdictions, such as limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement and protecting undocumented workers. As a result, cities like Denver have emerged as significant hubs for Venezuelan migrants, drawn by the relatively welcoming environment fostered by these immigration policies. Since December 2022, Denver has emerged as a significant hub for migrants migrating from South and Central America. The city is in the center of the migrant problem due to its placement along the I-25 corridor and proximity to Texas, where many migrants enter the nation. In April 2024, CBC stated that Denver is a city overwhelmed with migrants, noting that it has taken in more than 40,000 migrants since 2023. Many of these migrants have been bused from states like Texas as part of a controversial strategy employed by Governor Greg Abbott. This practice aims to transport migrants to Democratic-leaning cities, highlighting the tensions over immigration policy and resources. By mid-January 2024, Denver faced an overwhelming situation with temporary migrant shelters reaching peak occupancy at 5,200 individuals. According to El País, nearly all of these migrants were asylum seekers sent from Texas, creating urgent demands on the city's resources and support systems. The surge in numbers has prompted local leaders to assess the implications for public services and community support as they work to accommodate a growing population of individuals seeking refuge and stability in a new environment. This situation as a whole has also been attributed to a spike in crime that has spilled over into nearby towns and cities. Crime and gang activity in Aurora. One of the most pressing issues that has surfaced in the wake of the increasing Venezuelan migrant population is the surge in crime, particularly in the nearby city of Aurora. Historically, Aurora has been home to a diverse range of communities, but the recent wave of Venezuelan migrants includes individuals who were previously entrenched in gang culture back in their home country. With them, they have brought certain criminal behaviors and affiliations that contribute to rising crime rates. In recent months, residents of Aurora have increasingly felt unsafe venturing out of their homes due to a surge in gang activity attributed to Tren de Aragua, a notorious transnational criminal organization originating from Venezuela. With an estimated membership exceeding 5,000, the gang has been linked to various forms of violence, extortion, and criminal enterprises that have destabilized communities and instilled fear among local residents. Citizens report heightened anxiety about their safety, with many avoiding public spaces and daily activities as the threat from gang-related incidents looms large. During an intense presidential debate, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump squared off over multiple issues, including Aurora's spike in gang activity. Trump claimed that the gang is taking over, following reports that they have seized control of run-down apartment buildings. Trump said, "You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently." According to AP News, the notion of gang takeovers gathered intense traction after a tenant of an Aurora apartment complex posted footage online in August 2024 showing armed men banging on an apartment door, escalating concerns that the six-building complex was under control of the Tren de Aragua gang. However, according to city officials, the property manager's negligence caused the buildings and two additional residential complexes to fall into disrepair. According to the Daily Mail, after reportedly denying the Venezuelan gang was in the city, Aurora cops have now admitted to making arrests. They noted that many of the arrests stem from violent activity at the properties, particularly the Whispering Pines apartments, whose landlord has claimed the gang overtook the property in 2023 and began charging rent from tenants. According to the property's managers, the gang established a stranglehold on the building, engaging in assaults, threats of homicide, extortion, and prostitution. Fitzsimmons Place Apartments is another building that has become a victim of the gang, with residents fleeing their homes in fear for their lives. One family told Fox 31 Denver that they were forced to install multiple locks on their door and that their car was riddled with bullet holes after a gunfight broke out outside of the complex in August 2024. According to the Daily Mail, further arrests of Tren de Aragua members have been made outside of the property takeovers, the most notorious being that of Carlos Aranguren Mayora, who is accused of 38 crimes all over the Denver area dating back to December 2023. In the wake of these arrests, the Aurora Police Department have finally acknowledged the presence of Tren de Aragua. Their statement read, "To date, APD has now linked 10 people to TDA and has arrested 8 of those people. 2 of the 8 individuals who were taken into custody were involved in a July shooting at one of the specific properties in the city that have experienced issues with TDA activity. In line with these arrests, we can also now confirm that criminal activity, including TDA issues, has significantly affected those properties. The New York Post also reported on the matter, throwing the blame at Denver, saying, "Denver's decision to welcome migrants with open arms is bringing bloodshed to the suburbs next door," adding that the influx has set off a wave of violent crime. Analysis of Aurora's community responses. It is crucial to understand that not all Venezuelan migrants are involved in criminal activities. The majority seek refuge from violence and struggle to integrate into a new society. However, certain groups, including gang members, have utilized the chaos of migration to establish a foothold in American cities. These individuals often resort to illicit activities as a means of survival, perpetuating a cycle of crime that places a significant strain on local resources and law enforcement. The increase in crime stemming from the new migrant population has raised alarms among Aurora's residents and city officials. The situation has sparked heated debates regarding immigration policy, social services, and community safety. According to Denver 7 News, city officials in Aurora are acknowledging the problem but are not declaring it a major crisis to the city as a whole, releasing the following statement. "As for the perception and reality of public safety in Aurora, please understand that issues experienced at a select few properties do not apply to the city as a whole or large portions of it. TDA has not taken over the city. The overstated claims fueled by social media and through select news organizations are simply not true. However, many Aurora locals are still in fear." The New York Post spoke with a woman who fled her apartment complex on Dallas Street when she started hearing gunshots, fights, and loud music every night. She told reporters, "It's not safe there, especially if you have kids. You can hear gunshots. My kids used to walk to school, but they couldn't feel safe anymore. I think it was the right decision to move out from there." Fortunately, steps have been made by the police to tackle these issues. According to the New York Post, one Aurora landlord told reporters that the gang took advantage of vacancies in the building and would move into empty units and take over. He then claimed that they'd threatened maintenance workers and staff who tried to clean up the apartments. In response, city cops and officials have closed 2 apartment complexes and forced the owner of 2 of the worst crime hotspots to give up control of the buildings. What about how many illegal border crossings there have been every year for the last 20 years?